pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Wyatt.
Here.
Buns.
Present.
Reister.
Here.
Sewell is absent, sorry. Lawson.
Here. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Anything to remove from the consent agenda? If not, I'd take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Oh, all in favor? That's right, we don't do a roll call that one.
Okay.
It's a
Didn't
We
read
can
all
if
the
you want
notes,
to.
I'm
It is a
sorry.
Monday.
I just tried to give you more work. Did I get a favorable vote?
Yes.
All in favor, say aye. I'll call it for you. Can I have your pay?
Apparently I'm getting it. Mayor's comments, just one thing. Every citizen of Hudson should have gotten in the mail a notice of replacement to the water meter
And the outdoor.
and the outdoor reader.
Yep.
It gives you the ability to go online to sign up for your appointment or to call in, so start doing that.
Yeah, and you can call the city hall with questions, but
Okay.
we can't set the appointments.
Okay.
So you have to call that 844 number.
Okay, so call the 844 number or do it online. Committee reports. Gail, Admin, Finance, Personnel Committee.
All right, we met on May 23rd, called meeting to order at 4:45. First item was the police department's cell phones. Right now, they're using their personal phones. There was also discussion on providing just the vehicles, but then there was concerns if they left their cell phone or if they, took it with them, then they would be without a cell phone. So the committee recommends to purchase cell phones for each officer. And I believe that's on tonight. Or no, it
no,
didn't have to
no.
come.
I have to
Okay.
have a discussion with the chief yet because I forgot.
Okay,
Sorry.
okay. So
Sorry.
next we discussed the wage increases. We thought about doing an across-the-board 3.5 raise, but some members didn't feel that this would be fair to those that, go beyond their positions and those that just do the minimum. So we asked the mayor and the city administrator to go back and go through and then come with a more defined proposal, and that is on tonight's agenda.
And that went out to the committee and was approved, right, as far as those being on the council? Okay.
And we adjourned at 5:09.
Thanks, Gail. Any questions for Gail? Public Safety Committee meeting, Kate, from June 2nd.
We met on Thursday, June 2nd. First thing we talked about were speed signs on East Eldora and Schrock Road. We had talked to police chief had talked to a couple of different vendors about signs. But the next option that we also had that he had spoken with a person about was actually some speed cameras that are available to us for no cost to the city. There was what do you want to call it, a speed report done? Analysis, thank you, that's a good word for it, on 4 different streets within the community of Hudson. And the one had almost, Sharp Road was what, 50% or higher of ticketable violations. They could have ticketed if they'd have caught them with the ones that they actually tracked. Eldora Road, Ranchero Road, and both east side and west side of Eldora were the other 2, and then we also tracked Ranchero. With the proposal that we have with these cameras, any tickets that are generated from them would have 70% of the fee on that ticket would go to the city, the other 30% would go to the company that actually installs and maintains the camera. So it's a way to do it. After discussing some of these different options, what we chose to do was a request to add two of the four streets that we had discussed that had been analyzed. One being Schrock Road, where we're having a lot of issues with speeding on that one, as well as East Eldora, correct?
West Eldora,
Yeah, just Eldora.
Eldora,
coming in past the cemetery.
by the cemetery.
Yep.
Which would free up speed trailer to avoid those two, which could be actually added out to some of the other areas that we are having speed issues with rather than cameras. There is not a contract for how long we keep these, so if it doesn't work or if something changes, we can get rid of them. Is that correct under my understanding as well? So the vendor is gonna come to present at a meeting, so it is not on the agenda as of right now. But it's just what we discussed, so we will look at that. Speed limit on Schrock Road was updated. Was it really updated? It's been requested, but it's not been
I drove
updated
up
yet.
there, it's still the same.
That's what I thought too.
It's not done yet.
Okay, so
They
we're,
want us to pass the ordinance, and they wanna pass the ordinance, and they wanna update it.
okay, so we're looking to update the speed limits on Schrock Road so that it goes directly from 55 down to 35, with skipping that 45 mile an hour in between to try to eliminate some of the speeding that's going by the actual housing developments that we've got out there now since things are changing. So that will be happening once everybody changes, and I believe that is on the agenda for tonight.
With that, the 35 also moves to the city limits.
There we go, that too. We also discussed at that same time, also moving the 35 limit to the east side, west side of the bridge going on Eldora, out towards Grundy, towards the cemetery, so that that one is actually, again, so it stays 25 through city limits and then goes up from there. Rather than the block in that it has been just past the bridge, just to make things a little bit cleaner. No update on the police department generator. There was an amazing update to the freestanding sign for the new police department, that rather than a $12,000 sign, we're gonna get it for about $1,000, thanks to Mayor Wessel. Which is awesome savings, we like saving money, right Matt? And then we're also saving a little bit of money on the carpeting, because Sergeant Wiersma was able to strike up a deal with the school to get portions of that, so they are continuing to work on that. Discussed briefly a school resource officer, that's gonna go to the school though, and we adjourned at 4:35.
Thank you, Kate. Any questions for Kate? I'll now open the public hearing to consider and gather public input regarding a proposed ordinance, an ordinance amending chapter 166, development ordinance, establishment of zoning districts by adding section 16617 of the Hudson City Code, adding backyard chickens with a limit of 8 under certain restrictions. Any written comments?
No.
Any oral comments?
Yes, Mayor Wessel.
Mr. Wiersma?
Please stand and state your name and address.
Scott Wiersma, 114 Usher Street.
Do you swear to tell the truth, your whole truth?
So, prior to moving to Hudson, I hauled live chickens for 12 years. And learned quite a bit about chickens. And I've learned the one thing with chickens is it doesn't matter if you have a barn that contains 800,000 or you have 8. Chickens stink. Chickens bring in a whole swarm of problems. You're gonna have increased flies if people are not maintaining their barns or their coops. Increased noise. I know the ordinance proposal said limited to hens only, no roosters. Hens make just as much noise throughout the day as a rooster does crowing at the sun in the morning. My other concern is a chicken gets loose, now we're gonna have chickens running all over town. Because unless you're an Amish boy, the chickens are very hard to catch. They don't like being caught.
Rocky did it once, in the movie.
I guess being in the R2, R3 portion of town versus the R5s, which are out in the more rural agricultural parts of town, I am against having backyard chickens. I understand the need people are seeing with the increased pricing and everything else, but I think it's a benefit to citizens as a whole. The bad outweighs the good.
Thank you, Scott. Anybody else? I'll close the public hearing. General government, Hudson City Council maintains the right to waive the first and second readings of the ordinances presented and may pass the third and final reading of the same ordinance within the same council meeting. Item A, discussion and action to approve the second reading of ordinance 864, an ordinance amending the code of ordinances of the city of Hudson, Iowa by adding chapter 6915, no parking on one side. Now, this had gone to a public hearing previously, and it had gone through, did we go through a first reading on this one with, but that was with no parking period, correct? Okay, so the modification on this second reading is it's been changed to be no parking on the south side of 7th Street from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. So it's not a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week, and it's not a both sides, it's just the single side. So that's the clarification. Since we've gone through the public hearing addressing the overall issue, we don't have to go through another public hearing, and this can qualify as a second reading of the amended ordinance. Did I do that correct, Chrissy?
Yes, correct.
So do I have a motion to approve the second reading as it was revised?
I'll make the motion.
Second. Discussion?
Do we want? We are still going to explore opportunities or costs as far as expanding that road.
Absolutely. In fact, Mark Durbin is here today. We've got a proposal to do a full engineering on it, spec, and have it all the way to the point of being able to go to bid.
So this doesn't necessarily lock us in that this is gonna be a no parking forever with this.
Well, we
This
were-
is a temporary fix while we're
Yes.
exploring additional options. I just wanna make sure that that's noted
Right?
so that we can try to appease everyone. But it's causing, I mean, there's just some issues that it's causing. And this is the temporary fix until we can find a more permanent fix,
Right.
correct?
Correct. That's my absolute intention with it. Because if we have it passed that way, the one thing I've not done, I've not talked to any of the adjoining property owners as far as the revision, and we did not have to go out and actually talk to any of them. If it's passed tonight in the second, I would intend to go talk to a few of them and tell them exactly what it is and what we're intending to do. And then if we get a permanent solution, then it would simply be a case of repealing this ordinance, correct, Chrissy?
What was that?
If we get this street improved the way we intend to do it, all we'd have to do then is repeal this section of the ordinance, correct?
Yep, yep.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Wyatt.
Aye.
Reister.
Aye.
Lawson.
Aye.
Buns.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
And Chrissy, when would this take effect? It'd have to be after the third reading and publication of it, so it would be, it's a
It'd
month
probably
out,
be,
close to a month out.
yeah, it would be the first part of, if the third reading is approved on the 27th, then it may go on that Thursday, but more than likely it'll be that week later.
So it'd probably be in effect during Hudson Days, but that's a weekend. So,
Do we have no parking
Whatever.
signs?
yep.
I'll have to get some made up, but signs by tomorrow, can make them by
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Get it? 5 more.
Yeah, because those would need to say, no parking 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Monday
Right
through
on.
Friday, or is that weekends too?
Monday through Friday, right?
I didn't put anything in the ordinance that it's Monday through Friday. I
Because
just
they
have
take
it all the
deliveries and
time.
everything else on the weekends and stuff. So yeah, it's just,
It'd be
8
8
to 5.
8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
did we do a roll call? Yeah,
Yes.
we threw it? Okay, thank you. Katie? The Alzheimer's, sorry.
It's okay.
Item B, discussion action to approve the second reading of ordinance 865, an ordinance amending the code of ordinances of the city of Hudson, Iowa by amending 6914 snow removal. And as a reminder, this was moving it from a 1-inch snowfall to a 2-inch snowfall, and also clarifying exactly what was meant by starting operations of snow removal, which includes sanding and anything else. Have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Buns.
Aye.
Lawson.
Aye.
Wyatt.
Aye.
Reister.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Item C, discussion action to approve the second reading of ordinance 866, an ordinance amending chapter 65, stop or yield required, section 6502 of this Hudson City Code 2017 by adding yield signs, sections 12 through 14.
next to the number streets.
Yep.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Lawson.
Aye.
Wyatt.
Aye.
Reister.
Aye.
Buns.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Item D, discussion action to approve the first reading of ordinance 868, an ordinance amending chapter 166, development ordinance establishment of zoning districts by adding section 16617 of the Hudson City Code relative to keeping chickens. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve that.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second for sake of discussion because it's only the first reading.
Discussion?
I'm glad you spoke up about having experience with them. My question is, have we researched into any other communities that have allowed this in an R1, R2, R3 type of setting to see what concerns they've come across? So, such as Cedar Falls. I don't think Waterloo allows chickens.
The ordinance that came from Cedar Falls.
Cedar Falls, have they had any complaints or anything else that we've heard of?
I have no idea.
I think 8 chickens is too many.
I thought, my next question was, 8 is in Cedar Falls' ordinance, or did we come up with 8?
Nope. It's in Cedar Falls.
Denver allows them, don't they? Heather made just comments, but I never really asked her whether Denver has an ordinance or whether they've had any experience with them.
My first thought would be just to continue keeping this moving, or if you want to even table it, I'm okay with that. But doing a little more of our own research as far as, have there been, even if we put it on clerk's desk, say, who allows chickens and what complaints do you get? I'm completely indifferent to an R5, R6 type of situation, because that to me is completely separate.
And they're already allowed there, correct?
Right. From an R1, R2, R3 type of situation, because it's so much more densely populated, obviously that's where we get the problems. So personally, like I said, I only seconded this so that we could discuss. I would be okay with tabling it and not even passing first reading until we go through and find out and do a little more research on what the problems would be. Or if there's other communities that only allow 2 or 4 chickens instead of 8, because 8 chickens does seem like a lot to me too.
Heather did mention that Hazelton has backyard chickens. They do not require coops or runs, and they allow 25.
Good Lord. They're a small.
And they have
a lot of-
very
yeah, a
rural-
lot
Very
smaller, yes.
rural.
That's Hazelton.
And I was gonna say, they also have a large Mennonite community, so that's probably why that is too.
And my other concern is, I know the numbers are going down about the bird flu, but it's still out there.
Right.
And I don't know if you read the article in the Courier on Sunday, but they said that you'll see the bird flu more during the winter and it tends to go away in the summer. But it's still out there.
I mean, the bird flu, every bird is susceptible to that, right? So I mean, I don't think limiting, I could get on board with going to 6, 4. You know, I don't think I'm not real dogmatic about 8. I think that, I think it's totally reasonable. I think that, I mean, dogs are loud. I mean, you know, in terms of noise. Kids are loud, motorcycles are loud. You know, I mean, there's a lot of things that are loud. And I think that, you know, whether it's 8 or 4 or 6.
Can we
The
give,
bird flu thing though, I mean, Gail, I guess I just asked like, I mean, I know that that's a real thing, but like how do we avoid the bird flu? First of all, how does that affect us? And second of all, what about other birds? I mean, how does somebody having 4 chickens increase the chances of the bird flu becoming a problem? And even if it does, how does that affect me? And I don't know the answer to that.
I think the most, I think where the bird flu has come up most is when they've got infections into turkeys. But that's huge plants, and
Yeah.
the loss would be to the person who has the chickens, they may lose their host of chickens. So to me, I
It's
don't
just
see
that we're-
that as a
yeah.
damage to the community other than themselves.
I mean, I don't know where people would get their chickens, and is there a possibility that they're bringing in sick chickens?
Scott, with your understanding of chickens, could you explain the flu?
So, back when bird flu made its first appearance here, about 2010-ish, the very first case of bird flu was documented back to backyard chickens. And from backyard chickens, it progressed into the barn-style flocks. Same thing happened this year. The Iowa Department of Ag reported that the first cases of bird flu were with backyard flocks. And the reason that is, and how it gets transmitted to your commercial, is by wild bird droppings. So your backyard chickens are running around eating their grubs, doing whatever. They are eating what other birds have left behind. Well, then they develop the bird flu, and then they just start passing it on, and wild birds come back. They finish up eating, what the chickens left behind. They fly over top a commercial building, do their business, and that's how it's spread. But the last two most recent cases where bird flu just exploded in the state of Iowa were generated back to backyard poultry.
From my perspective, the thought of allowing somebody to have chickens from an inflation fighting factor, I don't know if anybody takes into account what it would cost them to put together their coop, put together their run, get their feed in order to feed that chicken in order to have 1 egg a day.
Yeah, I think.
Because I don't even know if a lot of people know that it's 1 egg per day, that's the most you get out of a chicken. I was thinking more, having grown up on a farm, I probably wouldn't veto anything or whatever the council comes up to, but I could see it of value to allow, say, 3 chickens, so that these urban kids can belong to the FFA, which is very strong in Hudson, and could actually have a pen of 3 chickens as an FFA project. Because if the fares have not changed, you can take a chicken or you take a pen of 3 chicken. I don't know if that's the same, Jake, you might know. But anyway, that's where my limit would be is, I could speak in favor of a 3 chicken limit or a 5 chicken limit or a 4 chicken limit, and just from a standpoint of, it's not gonna be a backyard chicken, they're not gonna be running around to any great extent, they have to have an area. I think 8's too many, at least at this point. If anything gets approved, to me, I would prefer that it be less than 8, maybe a 3, and I can also go along with a recommendation to table 2, so.
I agree that the inflation fighting side is,
Not the
Not
reason.
I mean, I suppose if you're raising broilers, maybe, but I agree with you. And in the wintertime, when there's less light, I mean, we have chickens, they don't lay eggs when it's dark and cold. I'd rather raise ones that we could eat, but our daughters aren't into that.
I've got a motion and a second. I would entertain an amendment to the numbers. I would entertain a tabling, or I would entertain somebody telling me to call for the vote.
The other thing that you'd have to look for is people, I just Googled bird flu and how it affects backyard flocks, and it does say that if a person contracts bird flu, it's a 53% chance of being deadly to a person, is what it said.
Really?
But it also said backyard chickens attract prey, or species that prey on chickens as
You
well.
like coyotes?
And foxes and other things like that that I don't necessarily want in my yard with a small dog. But that's a whole different subject as well. I personally, I would move that we table this until we get more information on it. I just don't think jumping the gun to 8 is here. I would like to see Christie put out on ClerkNet to see other communities if they allow it.
I just did.
And, thank you.
Yeah.
How they deal with some of these stuff and what their numbers are, because I do think 8's too many.
Can I get a second to the tabling motion?
I will second that.
Discussion on it? Roll call on the tabling motion.
Wyatt,
Aye.
Buns,
Aye.
Reister,
Aye.
Lawson.
Okay. It's
No.
tabled? So 3-1?
Yep.
On the table? Okay.
Yep.
Thank you. More information to follow.
You're on E.
Thank you. Item E, discussion action to approve resolution 2936, a resolution for approval of road closures for Hudson Riders, Chapter 82. A motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Wyatt,
Aye.
Reister,
Aye.
Lawson,
Aye.
Buns.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Item F, discussion action to approve resolution 2937, a resolution to reappoint library trustee members. This is Birdsong and Reaganwither.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion?
They both want to be
Yes.
reappointed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Roll call.
Lawson,
Aye.
Buns,
Aye.
Reister,
Aye.
Wyatt.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Item G, discussion action to approve resolution 2938, a resolution setting wages for city employees of the city of Hudson, Iowa for fiscal year 2022 and 2023. And the rates that are listed in resolution 2938 match the percent changes that was in the packet that we sent out yesterday. Agrees with the recommendations from the personnel committee, and the police wages, other than chief bank, are in accordance with the
Union.
Contract, union
Contract.
contract.
motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
I do have a discussion with this, and I'm probably gonna be not I don't know how this is gonna go or not, but I like the rates that were out there. However, the cost of living adjustment in 2021 was 5.9%. We're not even hitting cost of living adjustment, and I don't wanna get to a point where we're losing employees because we're not keeping up with wages just like we have been in the past. So truly, I would like to see this go to a different discussion again, to see if we can at least bump it up to cost of living.
But we gave a 6% in January.
Right. This was over and above their,
This is, everybody passed this. I mean,
Everybody got the 6%.
and then this is an additional
January
3.5?
This is the July 1, then, so you're up on average 9.5.
Okay, so we wanna make sure that we actually keep up with that as long as, I didn't count that into it, so I'm okay with that.
Yep.
But I just wanna make sure that we're very cognizant about, because next year could be, they're saying next year could be another 9% cost of living increase.
I agree, because Chrissy's been doing some research across. I saw something from Waterloo's police contract, which is done as
Yeah, that one I
3128
just saw too.
is an original. There's a lot of stuff going on. So yeah, this is an action to be effective with the pay check issued July 1st or after. And then I want us to continue to be watching it over the next few months and see where we're at in case we need to make adjustments at any point in time. This is matching pretty much the budget, although we didn't have, we had the 6% already blown into this year's budget because we reset the starting point
Sure.
to get the 3.5.
You know, and I don't want this to come off as I'm not as concerned with the police department because you guys have your union that negotiates your contract, but I wanna make sure that we're especially looking to our city clerk staff, our public works staff and everybody else so that we can maintain and continue to keep the good employees that we have. Because we all know how hard it is to find anybody right now, so
Absolutely, I agree with the concern.
make sure we keep up with that. But thank you all for your hard work in looking at this, and I appreciate the 6% plus the 375 is not as bad as I thought. I was gonna be like, ooh, what's coming more?
For the sake of the citizens' education, we should have a conversation on why the cost of living is so high.
Let's not.
Already had the conversation today.
We all have various ideas from fact and fiction and
Yeah.
and anything else, so.
All right.
Any further
We'll be
discussion?
here for 3 hours.
Roll call.
Lawson,
aye.
Reister,
Aye.
Buns,
Aye.
Wyatt.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Thank you, and thank you for your extra comments, Kate, appreciate it. And yours are fine.
Thank you.
Yours is appreciated.
Item G, no, we're on H, right?
Yep.
Item H, discussion action to approve resolution 2939, a resolution setting a public hearing to amend section 6304 of the City of Hudson Code of Ordinances, and this is for the Schrock Road speed limits, and the
Say
public
that.
hearing be June 27th.
Say that 3 times fast. So,
So moved.
second.
So
Just-
we are not putting a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit out there?
County's doing all the work, actually.
It's gonna go 55 to 35.
They stretched that out even farther than what it used to be.
Okay.
So it's gonna go 55, speed zone ahead sign saying 35, down to 35. And then it'll go from, at the city limit to 35 to 55 shortly after.
So if I had to ask either one of the police officers sitting here, do you feel comfortable with that? I mean, that's a major drop with nothing between. Are you okay
I
with
like to
that?
keep it, have it 35, starting at 63 and going out towards the city limit.
Instead of 25?
Because then you don't have to police people going faster than 25.
There's no driveways on right there.
Yeah, I get about 50, 30, I would say average 42 isn't that 25 mile per hour zone. We can just do it 35 from 63 to.
Well, because the average, what they're driving is higher than what the speed limit is, I don't think is the reason to change it, but if we look at the safety features of why it is 25, well, there is no driveways there, which is truly
Just the Bonnie.
the real reason that,
There is one driveway there, Rustlers, but it's clear by the corner, by the intersection.
right,
Yeah.
On the
Right.
south side.
Correct.
Yeah.
correct.
Because isn't the 25 intended to be residential areas, mainly from the standpoint that it could, kid go out on the street, which isn't the situation there, because it's, yeah, you got a couple, you got 2 houses, or 4 houses.
So the issue I've found when sitting in Wrestler's driveway or even the gas plant driveway is with the configuration where you're going down the hill to Pirate and then back up the hill, a lot of times if there's a vehicle a half mile out of town yet and a vehicle that's coming up the hill, you're not gonna get an accurate reading because it just makes that quick jump off of the closer vehicle to the far vehicle. So a lot of times I know Chief Banks and myself will sit back in front of Get and Go and get them
As they come up that.
as they come up the hill.
There's another place in town that goes 35 to 55 that I just saw the other day, and I'm trying to think of where it
The
was.
reasoning for that is the county. I reached out to the county, and this is how they set everything up now, going out of town. This is how Gilbertville set up, this is how.
Maybe that's where it was that I saw, when I was going to see. the numbers.
Gilbertville, Dunkerton, Fairbank, all 3 of those are set up the same way, and that's
Okay,
what they told me, that's what they're switching to. They're getting rid of 45s.
okay,
So,
all right.
So your recommendation is matching what we have in the ordinance going out Schrock, except remove the 25.
This is just to set the public hearing though, so.
Right,
I mean, we still have time to talk
Right.
about that, but.
okay. Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're just setting a public
Yeah.
hearing.
good
Yeah.
point, but good discussion too, so.
Yeah.
We got a few things to pursue.
Yeah.
Roll call?
Buns,
Aye.
Wyatt,
Aye.
Reister,
Aye.
Lawson.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0.
Item I, discussion action to approve resolution 2940, resolution for approval of payment request number 2 regarding the diffuser bank stabilization project.